Hi, and you're listening today to In the Studio with Matt Tommy and Pattie Ann Hale. And we're here on a beautiful sunny day in Asheville, North Carolina, and ready to talk about some good creative stuff. Somebody had a birthday this weekend.
How did I know you were going to lead in with
Well,
that?
I know I had to, because it was like, this was, see, and I can't talk because I probably do the same thing. Tanya says I have the birthday month, but Pattie had the birthday weekend. It was like started on Thursday and ends tomorrow, I think. But when you're 29, you just want to do that, don't you? So
29. You should be able to do that when you're 29.
that's right. The 11th anniversary of her 29th birthday. But it was, did you have fun?
I had a wonderful time. I said that, Wayne planned this huge, big party, and my friend Heather helped him with all the details. And I said they told me 1,000 lies, because Wayne would tell me one thing, and I would ask. It was so trying on my artistic temperament, because I really wanted to know what was going to happen, So I was asking him one question, then another, and he'd tell me one thing and then another, and I'm like, "You're lying to me." And he's like, "Yes, I've told you 1,000 lies.
That's right.
But the Lord will forgive me, because it's coming from a good place." But it was
Pattie came
wonderful.
in this morning and said, "I'm such a control freak." She said, "I want to know what's going on the same way." I'm like, "Don't surprise me." Well, surprise me, but let me tell you how to surprise me.
Exactly.
So, that's how creative people are. We know the vision we have in our head, so we want to. I was having that same conversation with Cameron last night, who's 9, and I was saying, "Baby, sometimes you make a little problem a really big problem," and he's like, "But Daddy, I see the way it's supposed to be." I'm like, "Welcome to the life of a creative. I got a radio show for you." So
Exactly.
well, awesome. And you had some friends come down. That was so awesome.
I think all of my friends, most all of my friends were there. It was really great. It was a good time to walk in and see all you guys. It was wonderful, and dancing with Wayne and the jazz band that was playing was wonderful. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's a great place if you're
awesome.
here in Asheville listening. The restaurant was called Olive or Twist, right down there in the corner of Broadway and Woodfin. And wow, what a great food, and great, they say jazz on the weekends, I guess, and just an incredible band. In fact, my mom listened to one of the videos on Facebook, and she was like, "I want to go there when I come." So anyway, she was like, "Would you dance with me?" I'm like, "Well, I'll see if I can find somebody to dance with you, but I don't dance. I'm a former Baptist, so I still don't do that well." But anyway, recently
Wayne and I have had this one dance since we were in high school,
right?
And we planned that dance out. It was so funny. Like, I remember being like 15 and putting pieces of paper all over the floor, making up this dance and teaching him how to do it. And we did it at every school dance there was. And so we've not been dancing those since. All that time, so it was really cool to dance with him.
Yeah, we had a good time, and of course there had to be the perfunctory videos that come out from that, and so I'm sitting at home and I put a little snarky comment on Facebook, and then Pattie and Heather, they came up with this little video of me. So I don't recall saying this, of course, but I'm sure I did, since it's on video, unless it was enhanced in some way, but where I'm begging to sing, but I'm like, that's so unlike me, because again, my personality is so humble and kind of in the back, most of the time, just sort of laid back, and
I just didn't want you to feel left out. I was like, "So are you going to sing, Matt? Are you going to sing?"
That's right. I was like, I need to sing. I need to sing. Let me do that. It's so funny, because Pattie and Wayne love to go to concerts. I don't like to go to concerts, because I'm like, why do I want to go to concerts? I want to be up there singing. I don't want to, it's the way we're wired as creative people. So anyway, I just as soon be doing it as watching somebody else. But well, that's kind of actually what we're going to be talking about today, and probably for the next couple of weeks, I would bet, is this whole idea of the creative process and what it takes to be creative, because I think a lot of times, we can overthink, underthink. There's just so much that goes into being creative and being an artist, being these people that God has really given this unique ability to release His light and His life and His glory into culture in ways that people who would not normally understand who God is can really be in a beautiful relationship and interact with Him in a way that is so powerful. And there's a lot to that. It's not just about picking up a paintbrush or picking up a musical instrument and just playing. There's really a lot that goes into that. And that's part of our passion, I think, at the worship studio is
Yeah.
helping people really connect to that authentic place where it's not just about doing the skill, not just about doing the stuff, but it's about this integration of the power of the Holy Spirit with our cooperation here in the earth realm so that God can really release what he wants to release through us. And the great part about that is we get to have a great time doing it, and we get a ton of fulfillment because that's what God's wired us to do. So
yeah, I think there's so many people that are out there that probably listen to our show or they're connected with us. Of course, creative people. You have this, very original idea, and you don't know how to get from that inkling of an idea to a fully formed work of art, whether that be a song or a dance or a painting. And so I want to talk some about like how that works, and is God in the process of that? Is the divine part of the process? Traditionally, I think across the board, and what has been my experience through all of the learning that I've done over the years through college and just community type learning, connecting with different instructors and taking workshops and that kind of thing, there's always, what I always see is this process of learn the skill, do it like me, and then you'll be able to do what I do, and then you can kind of move in your own direction.
Right.
And I think that's a traditional method of learning. It's learning all the skill first, and learning how to work like with a painter, learning how to mix color, learning how to use the brush and that kind of thing. And I have always felt so far removed from that process but I have been painting since I was a child too. So I think I probably learned some of those things when I was, even a child, taking workshops. That my mom used to take me to oil painting classes with her, to the adult oil painting classes, and I would watch what the instructor was doing and try to do it myself.
That's like me when people ask about singing harmony. They're like, how did you learn that? I'm like, I grew up under a piano. My mom giving voice lessons.
Right.
It's kind of, I think we take for granted, those of us that have been in creativity for a long time, the things that we caught rather than were just taught.
Yeah.
And you think, because it's always hard for me when people say, well, can you teach me piano lessons, or can you teach me how to sing? I'm like, I wish I could, because it's such a slippery set of skill for me, because it's just like you. It's this thing that many of us just caught as kids. So.
Right, and sometimes as I'm teaching, I assume so much that a person coming in as a total newbie should not have problem with, like, how do you hold a brush? And I see them not knowing how to hold a brush. And so then I have to back up and do that instruction. Or not knowing how to mix, two colors together and get a certain color.
Sure.
Because to me, it's just, I've been doing it so long, it seems innate.
Right.
And so, so I think that's part of the journey, like how to get from an idea to a fully formed piece of art, is to have some of that skill. And so, Matt, I know you're really big on that, especially as a craftsman, like learning the skill, learning patterns, learning how to do certain things with the materials. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about that, just as we get started. And
well, it's funny for you and I,
resonance with someone,
as we talk about this in the studio, because I was joking at our Monday night artist meeting the other night with one of the other craftsmen who's a wood turner, and we were talking about this, what we talk about a lot, which is this being in this place of experimentation and play and that sort of thing. And I said, it's one thing for a painter to say that, you pick up a brush and put, paint on the canvas. And I said, but for a wood turner, if you don't know how to hold the thing, you're going to tear something up, there could be wood flying and sparks going. And so, really, a few years ago, the Lord began to show me this dynamic in Scripture in Exodus 31, where Bezalel, who was, chosen by God through Moses to be the head craftsman to build the tabernacle at that point. It says in the Bible that, he was both filled and skilled, that artists were the first people in the Bible to be filled with the Spirit of God. Yeah. And I think that for us is a great pattern, that it's got to start in that place. It's got to start in that place of inspiration, where there's a connection with the Holy Spirit, where there's this real belief that God wants to move in power through what we do. But at the same time, we can't just leave it there, because we talk a lot about this idea that when God shows you something, He rarely is giving it to you in finished form. He's giving it to you, rather giving you authority and an opportunity. you know, to press into something. And so to me, that's kind of where the skill in comes in, that it's, you know, God gives us the impetus for that. He gives us the passion, the desire, the vision, and the unction of the Holy Spirit. But at the same time, we cooperate back and forth. And it's kind of like, I love that quote by Thomas Edison, who says, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. And it's this idea, I would, you know, differ with that a little bit, I think, on the numbers, but it really is this idea that you can have all the inspiration in the world, but unless we cooperate with the Holy Spirit and bring and steward well the skill and the gift and the talent that God's given us, then really those great things that God's given us just stay ideas. And that leads to this place of frustration, which we'll be talking about later, I'm sure. So
I know I'm, you know, as a painter, I'm very, and as the way that I teach as a workshop facilitator and, you know, just teaching people how to move in the Spirit, how to connect with the divine in their work, mainly in the medium of painting. You know, I'm very spontaneous and, you know, just free form, just go for it. It doesn't matter if you know how to hold the brush, just go for it. Just mix some color. It doesn't matter what turns out. And I love that process, and I really value that process. But I know, like in my own work, as I want to move from one place to another or from level to level, it changes. And so, like, some of the things that I have going on now are these sculptures, like body form sculptures that I'm going to be doing this year. And I woke up in the place of inspiration, you know, in this dream of this one figure, and it just kind of was an inspiration point from there. And I did many sketches, and so they were all in idea form, all of these body forms that I want to sculpt. And so now I'm at the place where I really have to learn the skill, and so it's a slow process for me. It's somewhat frustrating because I can't just go for it. I know that I have to learn to weld and solder. But I took welding in high school to be with Wayne.
Exactly. I was like, there must have been a man involved somewhere. So.
And I was so good at it. I like made better grades at it than Wayne did. It was fun.
Pattie is good at that kind of stuff, because we were at a thing this summer, all of us as couples from the church, and we were out at these people. We were up in a holler, and Pattie grabbed one of the guns, and darn if she didn't beat me in target shooting. I mean, so I can imagine you're a good welder too. So
I'm a country girl.
Well, let's talk about shooting and welding and all that when we get back here in the studio. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You are listening to 95.7 The Choice, where we're not afraid to play a 6-minute song.
Did God tell you to move to Asheville, but you don't know why? Well, maybe we can help you with that answer. We have named our church after the book of Acts in the Bible. We call it the Acts Church. We as humans have overcomplicated this life here on earth and our understanding of God and the Bible. After all, there are only 2 things that God has told us to do. We are to love Him and to love each other. Come as you are and meet the love of a lifetime. His name is Jesus Christ. Visit us at actschurchasheville.com.
The world loves thrift stores, and we've just opened one. Acts 2 Thrift Store, sponsored by the Acts Church, is now located at Business Park South on Sweden Creek Road. We have everything from furniture to clothes, tools to toys. We're open Wednesday through Saturday, and we welcome your donation items as well. Just follow the signs to Act 2 Thrift Store.
All right, and you're back here today In the Studio with Matt, Tommy, and Pattie Ann Hale here on 95.7 The Choice. You can always listen to us live online at 957thechoice.com or online at theworshipstudio.org / something. I forget what it is. It's if you go to the website and you.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
I know, it's like, what is that? If you go to theworshipstudio.org, you can go into resources. That's what it is. You can go into resources and actually listen to all of our archives. And the people are really excited about that. It's kind of fun to go back and see kind of where we've come from. And you can always connect with us on Facebook as well. So Facebook.com / The Worship Studio Inc. Well, hey, I want to tell you as we're jumping back into this conversation, just as a reminder, our Unlocking the Heart of the Artist course, online course, is coming up, quickly approaching. It starts on February the 1st, which means that the registration for that ends this Thursday, so about 4 days away. So no matter where you are in the world, you can be a part of the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist online course. Just $75, and you get the books online at Amazon or on our website, and be a part of an online community that allows you to connect with artists literally from around the country and around the world. And you know, I was skeptical about that the first time we did it. I was like, are people really going to connect via technology? But I tell you what, through the private Facebook group we have, through the Skype course, the Skype, conversations, conference calls that we have throughout the months that we do the course, it's amazing, isn't it, how much people really connect with that.
It has been really amazing. Our last group of people, just the transformation that was there. The community, the real community. I mean, a lot of those people came to our gathering and met one another, and are developing real friendships through meeting through that course online. So it's really a place of community, a place of development artistically, and just in your life, like getting to a place of more healing and wholeness. And it's really good.
I saw somebody talking about online marketing the other day, and they said when you do videos or do things in media, you have the "I feel like I know you" effect. And I said that's what we have at the worship studio. It's so fun when we do things on Facebook and we connect with people on Skype, although you've never met them in person. When you do get to meet them, it's like, I already know you. I know your story. I just want to hug your neck and really connect. So, well, you know, so much of what we talk about in that course and so many of the things that we do at the worship studio is exactly what we're talking about today, which is the whole creative process. How do we steward and walk through the creative process that God gives each of us to be able to bring the ideas and the inspirations that we have from the Holy Spirit into reality. And part of that is this whole, where it begins, really in a place of inspiration. You know, a lot of times we'll be going down the road and you'll see something, or you hear a song, or you'll, wake up in a dream, or like for me the other day, which is kind of unusual. I was listening to worship music, and all of a sudden the Lord began to give me a poem, and I wrote a poem, and then had this beautiful piece, I had a picture come in my mind of a sculptural piece that I did, and people just loved it. But it was a neat thing. And I think about, all of us get inspiration from different places. And the thing I see, and I, obviously love to hear your take on this too, but so many of us get inspiration, creative people, and yet we just go, oh, that was a great idea, but we don't steward it. We don't walk it through the process. And so there is that balance, I think, for all of us as creatives, not just to get the inspiration, but what do we do with the inspiration after we get that? Yeah,
I think there's the place of observation where inspiration comes in. All of that, the inspiration phase can come from so many places. It can come from a conversation with a friend. It can come from your perception of something, like even a movie that you watch, or just being observant of the things that you're seeing in front of you all the time. And it can come very supernaturally, or in a divine way, like through a dream or a vision, through a time of prayer. Where something just kind of gets, as I call it, just dropped into your spirit.
Yeah, like a download.
And so, but then there is that stewarding. And like I was saying with those body form sculptures that I'm going to be doing this year, it's like I have those in sketch form, and I have to do a lot of work to figure out how to make these things. And so I have to do a lot of practice and a lot of experimentation before I can actually make them. That's frustrating for me, but I know the point of inspiration was so divine. For me, it was so impressing on my spirit that I have to do it. I can't leave it alone. I can't just let it sit there in a notebook. I have to bring it to life. And
but as a practical thing that both of us have learned to do over the years as professional working artists, because how many songs have I missed? How many basket ideas have I missed? And so you kind of learn. People's like, when did you start journaling? I started journaling when I got tired of missing good stuff. And I think both of us practice as a discipline in our life. Ooh, the ugly word, the D word, discipline. But Pattie cringes over here, but touch her, Lord, right now. But there is the discipline that we both practice of journaling, and that's really as simple as you know, when you see those forms that you're doing, or when I have an idea for a basket, I'm intentionally writing that down. Even on my work table, I'll stop in the middle of a piece and just begin to sketch out something on that old plywood table. I always joke and say that's going to go in the Smithsonian when I have my whole wing there one day, the Tommy basket section. But but I think, you know, just that ability to have that, and it's really cool then to look back to see the sketches and then see the finished pieces. But that's a stewarding process. You can, you know, you take the inspiration and we're actually writing it down so that we can do something. You know, a lot of times you get inspiration, but you're not able or not ready to pursue it at that point, you know, but you're at least catching the idea.
Yeah, and then the practice that comes after that. I know, like, I'll share, like, your story about how you're doing all this experimentation with encaustic wax, more sculptural forms and that kind of thing. And then you'd just Saturday.
Mixed with tears, I might add, but go ahead.
And it's so fun to see him in the studio in this place of play and experimentation. I'm just like, thank you, Jesus. But
and I'm like, please don't cuss, Matt, because you're the head of an international arts ministry. You're not supposed to be cussing in the studio. But I'm like, God, I want to, you know, sometimes, because I want to get. I'm a skill guy, so I'm like, you know the skill, execute the skill, and then play after that. You know, as long as you do it in a skillful way.
And that's so funny that you and I, like, I am so about play and experimentation, and the Lord has you in that place of play and experimentation. And I brought in like a truckload of tools this morning, drills and a soldering gun, and I'm like, I don't know how to do this. My husband just loaded me up this morning, and it's like I have to learn this skill to be able to do the art forms that I'm wanting to do. But what I was going to share about what you were doing this morning was, and Saturday, you made just your typical bark basket. You were like, this morning you were like, this is me. I know this is a Matt Tommy basket. I was holding
it during our staff meeting. I was like, this makes me feel much better.
And so out of that place, you know, I really saw a real truth there that I've written about concerning one of your baskets on our blog. It's on our resources about just, you know, keeping at it, doing what you do every day. Just keep doing what you do while you're still playing and experimenting and finding the new things. So I think there's something really powerful in that for artists, because we have so many ideas. And a lot of times those ideas spread across many genres of art. We may sing, we may dance, we may paint. And so how do we not be scattered, which is what happens with a lot of artists in going from idea to the formation of their art. They're scattered all over the place, and they never really accomplish anything, or they accomplish a lot of nothing. And so how do you keep at it, keep doing what you do, keep doing the work that is yours, but then experiment in all these other ways so that you can find the new thing. And a lot of times those new things are the very, you know, the nuggets of the Lord that He's dropping. He's dropping those divine things upon us that He wants to express through us. And so it takes experimentation.
A lot of times the thing that is inspiring us is, like for me, I'm trying to figure out right now with this encaustic wax, you know, is it and we talked about this the other day, is it the wax that's inspiring me, or is it a quality about the wax, you know, or a quality about the color? Because what I'm trying to do is right now experiment and really go into that new place, but also maintain my voice, the creative voice that I know is me. And I think that's a frustration that we all go through as artists. I know I've been in that place, and Pattie gets to reap the benefits of that place of frustration with me. You know, just that general malcontent of what am I doing, and why doesn't this look like I want it to look? But that, you know, I think as artists we all know when something's not right, or we all know when it's not quite finished yet, or whatever. And I think just to be able to continue to work through that process, you know, through journaling, through experimentation, through, you know, like I had a friend of mine who's an incredible encaustic artist in the River Arts District, Julia Fawson. She came in on Saturday morning and looked at my stuff and gave a whole different view of my work than what my friends have been saying. And I was like, this is really good for me, because my friends know my body of work up until now. I said, we're just becoming friends, so you see what I'm doing right now and you kind of take it for face value. And she had a whole different take on it. So it was really, it's interesting that just that whole process of continuing to take the inspiration from the Holy Spirit and try to work that through consistently through your work, it's always a process.
Yeah.
So, and it's not clean all the time.
Yeah.
You know.
And one thing you were talking about, just that frustration place, that that place of anguish. And so often artistic people can get in that place of, I'm supposed to be unstable and I'm supposed to be a little crazy because I'm an artist. And we almost take that as a crutch or as an excuse to not get it together. And we don't always have to have it together, but I just think that our art should be fulfilling and not a place of struggle. And so often artists will take the ideas that they have brewing inside of them, or even on a notebook that they've sketched, or in formations of phrases for a poem or a song, and they live in this place of anguish until they can express it. Yeah. And I think that's a lie. Yeah. I think that really can be a lie. That we can get trapped in, that actually keeps us from being creative, or keeps us from life, keeps us from fully living. And so I just feel like there's a place of freedom in the creative expression, in the process of that creative expression, that we should be going after.
Well, it's kind of like the prophetic, when God gives you a word for somebody, or he gives you a download, you see something in the spirit or whatever, that may or may not be for now. It may or may not be for the person that you're with. A lot of times, people send something and think, oh, it's for the whole church, or if it's for the whole group. Well, it may just be for you, or it may be for somebody else in 2 weeks or whatever. And I think really because of, we are these prophetic people. We are endowed with this prophetic nature. All of us as believers in general, but especially as creatives, we're these ones that take the mysteries of the kingdom and put them in a package that the world can understand and interact with. And so I think the prophetic nature of inspiration means that the things that you're getting may not be for right now. And I think a lot of times the frustration that we sense can be partly about pursuing things in a timing that's not the right time. Yeah. Because I really do believe, there is that place of we're always, kind of grunting and groaning through and learning new things and that sort of thing. But there's also a grace when God is on something. That there can be that I always say, follow the favor. There's the whoosh of the Spirit that we can really ride that wave, and I really value that. And I don't know, maybe for me, I just don't know that I could live in that place of anguish all the time. I might could, but everybody else couldn't, because I'd be made them all mad and run off. And so I'd be making Pattie cry and Tanya cry. Just make something,
It would not be a happy day in the studio, I am sure. So that place of rest is so important, that place of just relaxing and letting things unfold, and realizing that your creative process, I think this is huge. This is huge for me in what I teach, and just like my philosophy about art and life is that you let every part of your life be creative. You let every part of your life, you embrace every part of your life as being part of your creative process. Right. So when you get in the studio, there's this outpouring from everything that you've filled up inside of your soul and in your spirit. So.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that when we come back here in the studio. We'll talk about some ways to maintain that creativity in our life and really steward well those ideas that the Father gives us. So we'll be back in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
The new music choice for Asheville, WGNW 95.7.
Did you know that essential oils were used in biblical times to protect God's people from pestilence? Frankincense, as an example, was said to be good for everything, from gout to a broken head. In other words, good from head to toe. 95.7 The Choice would like to thank Jackie McLaughlin for her generous support. For more information about essential oils, visit oil-essentials.com or call Jackie at 828-452-2958. That's 828-452-2958. Programming at 95.7 The Choice is made possible with the generous support of business partners like Area 22 Guitars. Area 22 Guitars is Western North Carolina's only boutique guitar shop. Whether it's an American-made all-tube hand-wired amp like Matchless, Divided by 13, Carr, or Fargen, or a U.S.-built custom luthier electric guitar brand like Anderson, PWE, Zion, Rowan, or Gatto, Area 22 Guitars specializes in the unique needs of the discerning musician. They carry a full line of boutique effect pedals like Keeley, Exotic, Rockbox, Menatone, and Wobbler. And their acoustic guitars include Breedlove, Larrivee, Eastman, Bedell, and Crafter. Area 22 Guitars, not your average guitar shop. For more information, go to area22guitars.com or call them at 828-884-2222. That's 828-884-2222.
Hi, I'm Matt Tommy from the Worship Studio. And if you're an artist, musician, craftsman, or just wanting to grow in your creativity, I'd like to invite you to be a part of the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist weekend experience coming up March 15th through 17th, 2013 in beautiful Black Mountain, North Carolina. This weekend is specifically designed to help creative people just like you embrace their unique God-given design, overcome roadblocks to their creativity, pursue personal wholeness, and share the whole journey with artists from around the country. So for more information or to register online, please visit theworshipstudio.org/unlocking, and we'll see you in March for Unlocking the Heart of the Artist. And we're back today with In the Studio with Matt Tommy and Pattie Ann Hale. You're listening to us also on 95.7 The Choice, and you can always listen to this simulcast and see us on video in my beautiful polar fleece jacket. I asked Pattie, I said, what am I going to do when it's not wintertime anymore and I can't cover it with my polar fleece? But, you know, it is what it is, right? So, but you can always catch us on 957thechoice.com or theworshipstudio.org, and you can go under our resources and check out our archives, or connect with us on Facebook at facebook.com/theworshipstudio Inc. There you can connect with over 1,000 artists now from all over the world who love to be in the kingdom and love to be creative and understand this whole process of integrating our faith and our creativity to be all that God's called us to be in the kingdom. So we're talking today and have a great conversation about this whole idea of the creative process and where does our inspiration come from. And, you know, it's interesting as we look back, I think all of us from a historical perspective can, you know, have the ideas that, you know, the things that we're doing right now are so fresh and new and nobody's ever come up with it before. And I had a real experience with that this Christmas because we were trying to do something at the church really out of the box. And, you know, for charismatic churches, you know, non-denominational churches, we don't want to do anything a lot of times that smacks of tradition or, you know, or anything like that. And so we were trying to do something that was, you know, really different. And I came up with this idea of, you know, having like a 5-part set of the service, like a 2-hour service, and having you know, the 5 parts of the Christmas story, and doing the you know, a song and a poem and a reading and a meditation and then maybe a dance or video, so, you know, all this kind of thing. And so we developed this whole thing. It was really great, and even did a program. I said, this is as close to Presbyterian as I'm getting, you know, but we even had a bulletin, you know. And I was so proud of it. I showed my mom, who's, you know, Methodist choir director for 100 years, and I showed her the thing, and she said, oh, she said, this is lessons and carols. And I said, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, Matt, she said, they've been doing that since the 1400s. And it literally was like almost, you know, stage for stage, section by section, this ancient, you know, liturgical service that the church has been doing for years and years. And I was like, isn't that just like the Lord? You know, the thing that we think is so brand new, the thing that's so fresh, people have been thinking about and doing for so many years. Mm-hmm. But there is this age-old question, I think, for a lot of creative people, whether you be a Christian or don't yet know the Lord, of whether what we do is divinely inspired or not. And I think that's a really valid question because, you know, nowadays, especially in Asheville, and a lot in the art culture around the world, you hear these ideas about how art and creativity have this kind of innate spirituality. Mm-hmm. And people are kind of open to that, but maybe not. We all push it to different places, I think. So mm-hmm. I know you've got some great, you know, kind of background and thoughts on what it means to be divine, mm-hmm. Or to integrate the divine into what we do. So.
Well, the skinny on that is I think that, you know, God breathed creativity into us.
Yeah.
When he breathed in his nature and breathed life into Adam, he breathed in creativity. So I believe that all of us are creative. We all have that creative spark, and it is a spiritual experience.
Right.
No matter if you're a Christian or not, it's a spiritual experience. And, you know, people have been creating since the beginning of time,
Sure.
building their homes, designing tools, making their own clothing. And so creativity has always been a part of who we are. And it's not something that's separate from life. And so, how do we separate creativity as though it's not spiritual? I don't even know how to do that, because
Right.
it's so much a part of life, and I think that all life is spiritual. And so, you know, ancient times, the Greeks had daemons. They called them
Right.
daemons, and Socrates had a daemon that spoke to him. You
Right.
know,
I
and
bet he
then when
did. No, I'm just kidding.
and then when the Romans came along, they called it the genius.
Right.
But they didn't think of a person as being a genius.
Right.
They thought the genius was actually like this, you know,
Right.
magic spirit that lived in the wall of the art
Right.
studio. You know, that
And then
kind
the
of
artist
thing.
channels that.
And that the artist
Right.
channeled that. And so there's always been this thinking, philosophical thinking about spirituality being a huge part of creativity, whether that be Socrates with all of his wonderful sayings that are wonderful.
Right.
You know, my question is, how much of that is God and how much of it is not? And that's a
Right.
huge
Well, I think it's
thing
like
for
a lot
another
of
show, probably.
a lot of spiritual things. You know, the enemy takes truth and twists it in a way that looks just enough like the truth for people to take hold of it, but it's just enough not the truth that it leads people into deception. And
Yeah.
you know, the truth is that God designed us to that in Him we would live and move and have our being. And just like Jesus said, hey, listen, I'm not doing anything on my own. I only do the things that I see the Father doing. And for us as artists, I believe the same dynamic is true, that yes, God, it deposits those things inside of us. And I think, you know, there are all creative people, whether you're overtly saying you're a Christian or not, or that you know are doing this with a divine inspiration. All creativity has the dynamic, has the possibility to reflect and reveal the glory of God, whether the artist knows it or not. Now,
Right.
now we'll get a lot of emails about that.
I agree.
But but it's because, see, God owns creativity. I mean, you got to start there. It's His nature that is in us. It's not
Yeah.
like we just went around and came up with this thing.
Right.
I mean, God owns creativity, and so He gave that to us. Now it's up to us what we do with it. And I think so. What you see with the world right now is this incredible display of, I believe, the investment of God in through gifts in people's lives. But what we're not seeing is the power. And I know you got a big passion for that. We both do. But, you know, that's what we want to see, is not only this investment of creativity in the nature of God, but we want to see the power of God move through creativity, so that when somebody interacts with a piece of art, they're not just like, oh, that's a really great piece, or oh, that's a really great song, but the power of God moves through that thing, and their heart is quickened, and transformation happens.
Yeah.
And that's where the rubber meets the road, and I think that's the difference, you know, between just saying, well, oh yeah, it's just a gift from the divine, from the supernatural, and really yielding ourselves as a channel for the Holy Spirit to move in power and to really collaborate with Him.
Yeah, I remember when I was very young being on a college trip to New York City, and stood in front of a replica of Michelangelo's Pieta and cried. It was amazing. It was beautiful. And I know that was a divine experience, not just because of my Christian upbringing, but just the beauty of the art was so moving. It was beyond seeing Jesus laying in Mary's arms.
Right.
It was beyond that. It was something of beauty and transcendence that I experienced in seeing just the replica.
Yeah.
And, you know, during the Renaissance, there was such a move towards humanism, whereas the genius, the Romans had thought there was this genius. It was a magical divine spirit that
Right.
embodied the artist. By the time of the Renaissance, that was when humanism really flourished,
Right.
and they began to say, Matt, you're a genius. I know you'd love that part.
Right.
But
I
they
like
said,
that. What's wrong with it? No, I'm just kidding.
they said of Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, you know, these are men who are genius, and
Right.
all of the engineers and
you elevate the
scientists,
artist.
and the man
Yeah.
was elevated.
Yeah.
And so it was about this time of being fully human.
Right.
Then humanism was,
Right.
was flourishing at that time. And so Michelangelo, being the artist, knowing that he had gotten divine revelation from God, and probably also hearing all of these theories swirl about him
Right.
being this genius, and him wrestling with, is it God, is it me?
Right.
I want to just read a couple of quotes that show like his struggle of that. He said, one thing he said when he was, he was a beautiful sculptor, and he said, I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free.
Yeah.
He understood the divine that was happening. Then also he said, if you knew how much work went into it, you wouldn't call it genius. And so therefore he's elevating his own workmanship.
Right.
And he wrestled with that.
As if the genius is just, I'm going to step back and let it happen.
Right.
There's a lot of that going around today,
Yeah,
too.
that's true.
I mean, we over-spiritualize.
Right.
Right.
Or on the flip side, it's all about my hard work.
Right.
I made this happen.
Right.
And so what I think we have to realize is like that scripture, we are but jars of clay.
Yeah.
And this all surpassing power comes from God, not from us.
Right.
And so where does it come in where we partner with God
Yeah.
rather than just being this open channel that just pick up a paintbrush and it's,
Right.
it's genius.
Right.
Does that happen? No. Or you just sing a song and it's gorgeous, it's wonderful, the harmonies are right, everything's
Right.
perfect. Usually not.
Right.
You usually have some training, even if you think you don't.
Right.
You've had it in your childhood. It's
Right.
been imparted to you in different ways.
It's the balance again. It's the being filled and skilled, and it is that balance, because you can have people that are really great at what they do, very skilled, very excellent, and yet if there's no passion, if there's no life to it, then there's boredom that happens. But on the same, if you have all these people with inspiration, and all these things I want to do for the Holy Spirit, I'm just going to let go and let God, we love to kind of throw that around. Then you have a lot of anxiety, and I'd say that's what we see mostly.
Yeah.
Is you see a lot of anxiety from artists who say, man, I see these things, I understand, I feel this inspiration, but I can't get it out because, and I would say, because I've not done the work.
And
I've not done the work to collaborate with the Holy Spirit in my place, in my responsibility, which is our skill development.
And that's where you and I differ, and I think we're good together in that
Right.
context of speaking to artists in that way, because what you would say is, well, let me show you a way to do this. Let me give you some skill.
Right.
What I would say is, honey, you need to pick up a paintbrush and just go for it, because
Right.
the Lord will teach you. And so my
As long as
take
they're
on
not
it
picking
is
up power tools. See, that's my thing.
exactly. My take is, you play until you get to the place of full inspiration, so that then you will acquire whatever skill you need to be able to say things in a better
Right.
way. A lot of people stop short of that, and that's the sad part.
Right.
Whereas you would do the skill, you would take the avenue of teaching
Right.
them the skill. Whereas a lot of times they would take pride in the skill and then stop short of the
Of the
inspiration.
inspiration, sure.
And so it's both.
Right.
It's working those things together, but
It's almost like God put us together in ministry for a reason. Isn't that a right?
you think God would do that? Wow.
I can't.
So I just want to, we'll close up this segment with, let me read this to you from Michelangelo, because this, I think, sums up where he
Yeah.
was. He said, so now, from this mad passion, which made me take art for an idol and a king, I have learnt the burden of error that it bore, and what misfortune springs from man's desire. The world's frivolities have robbed me of the time that I was given for reflecting upon God. And it was like he had accomplished so much.
Yeah. And
And
for
he
what?
had made art a king and a lord over his life. And he realized near the end that he had missed a lot of opportunity to not be prideful, but to realize that he was a jar of clay.
Right.
And it was a time of reflection upon God
Right.
that he was given as a gift to be able to reflect upon God through his art. And of course he did, because
Right.
we see his work still inspiring millions.
Still
It's
speaking,
beautiful.
right.
Still
That's right.
speaking. Yeah.
We're going to our last segment here on In the Studio, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back and finish talking about the creative process.
Music you won't hear anywhere else. Not even on Spotify. 95.7, The Choice.
Hello, listeners. This is Aggie, the Italian cookie lady, and I am proud to support 95.7 The Choice. Whether it's a wedding, anniversary, or birthday, we have the perfect dessert for you. From cookies to cannolis, cakes, pastries, the Italian Cookie Lady is here to satisfy your sweet tooth. We use only the finest ingredients and family recipes. For more information, go to ItalianCookieLady.com or call me at 828-553-5295, and remember to mangia.
95.7 The Choice would like to thank Dry Pros for their generous support. Dry Pros has 27 years of experience in the cleaning, restoration, mold remediation, and waterproofing of homes and businesses just like yours. Whether it's a routine cleaning or restoration from flood damage or mold, the team at Dry Pros has the experience to get it done right the first time. Cleaning all types of floors, windows, fine area rugs, and upholstery, they cover it all. For more information, their number is 828-277-9511. That's 828-277-9511, or visit them on the web at www.drypros.com. That's www.drypros.com.
Hi, I'm Matt Tommy from the Worship Studio. And if you're an artist, musician, craftsman, or just wanting to grow in your creativity, I'd like to invite you to be a part of the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist weekend experience coming up March 15th through 17th, 2013 in beautiful Black Mountain, North Carolina. This weekend is specifically designed to help creative people just like you embrace their unique God-given design, overcome roadblocks to their creativity, pursue personal wholeness, and share the whole journey with artists from around the country. So for more information or to register online, please visit theworshipstudio.org/unlocking, and we'll see you in March for Unlocking the Heart of the Artist. And we're back today on In the Studio with Matt Tommy and Pattie Ann Hale here on 95.7 The Choice. You can always listen to us live online at 957thechoice.com or listen to our archives at theworshipstudio.org under our resources tab, and click on In the Studio radio show and see our pretty faces on on the, well, at least our face is right. Yours is pretty, mine is hairy, but you can see us there on the archives and listen to all our shows, share them on Facebook, and then also always be a part of the Facebook community that we have going on. Over 1,000 artists now from all over the world who are passionate about faith and creativity and see God really move and raise up this army of artists to reveal His glory in the earth. As we're getting ready to finish up our last segment today, just want to remind you of a couple of opportunities that are coming up. One, we mentioned earlier in the show, our Unlocking the Heart of the Artist experience course. It's an online course, so no matter where you are in the world, you can be a part of this virtual community for, 3 months? It's going to be about
4 months.
4-month course, $75. It's a great course to be able to go through the Unlocking the Heart of the Artist book and workbook, not just by yourself, but with in a virtual community, online, through Skype, through Facebook. It's a really, really great opportunity. And then also, if you're a musician, we're full of painters right now, but if you're a musician, the Prophetic Creativity Weekend with me, with Pattie, Ray Hughes, Brian and Ramey Whalen, still got, I think, 5 or 6 spots left for musicians for that weekend. We're limiting that to only 33 people to really keep it intimate, and so going to be here in the mountains in February, and just real excited about that. So you can also find out about that at theworshipstudio.org and under our events and conferences tab there. So, well, we're finishing up the segment today with continuing to talk about inspiration and just this part of the creative process. I'm excited we're going to continue the conversation because even into next week and talking about the ways to work this out. But
get more of the practical side next week.
Yeah, because we're kind of in the clouds today, but that's good because we need to understand where this whole thing comes from. You were mentioning a minute ago just about the components of inspiration and faith. I mean, why don't you flesh that out a little bit, because I know I've got some thoughts on that.
I just think that, creativity comes to us sometimes very easily, and we move in that very easily. But at times, I think especially when we're in these transitional seasons with our creativity, there's like this huge thing that we're supposed to do, and we get the divine inspiration from the Lord, or even if it's just an observation from conversations or just stuff that's going on in our life. but we want to say something or make something. We even have that compulsion to make something different, something real, something powerful, and how that can be a little scary. And just like with anything in our walk in life, in our journey, it takes faith.
Yeah.
It takes faith to really step out and go for that thing.
Yeah.
And whether that means you have to learn new skill, or you have to press in closer to the Lord,
Sure.
or you have to press in closer to relationships or problems
Right.
in your life, it takes the element of faith to really be able to do that. Like really believing that those things that you don't see yet
Right.
can be made real, can
Right.
come into the evidence where you can see them in reality, and
Yeah.
other people can see them, and you can see the fruit of it.
Because a lot of times we think of faith as just this mental process, or I
Mm-hmm.
believe in something. But, like in James, it talks about faith without works is dead. If you don't connect action to belief, then you have nothing. You just have a bunch of great ideas,
Yeah.
And it's interesting, the Lord showed me one day, as I was reading that verse about, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And he said, Matt, why don't you just for kicks, just take that word faith and replace it with art? And so I did that. I was like, are you sure, Lord? Like art, creativity is the substance of things hoped for. Art or creativity is the evidence of things not seen. And he was like, yeah, doesn't that make total sense? That it's the things that we see in the Spirit. When we bring those, when we cooperate, when we do the work, when we bring the inspiration and the evidence together, our creativity becomes the evidence of that thing that we saw. It becomes the outworking of the revelation of the Spirit.
Yeah, it is the thing that's in the heart of God,
Yes.
and you bring
Yes.
it into reality. I
Yes.
think that's paramount. I mean,
That is
just,
the calling of the artist.
It is. It is. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because it totally transforms what we think about art.
Shoo.
That art is on the outside
good.
of our. It is.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm
We're
that
feeling
art.
it up in the radio station.
It crushes that belief that art is on the outside of
Yeah.
our spiritual walk. That if you talk about it in the context of church, that art's just the nice thing to do on Easter, during the Easter or the Christmas
Yeah,
service.
yeah.
That it's just the thing that the kids do with their craft time to keep them busy, so they're not in their
Right.
in their parents' hair, during the real worship time.
Right.
But it's powerful, and it's paramount, really.
Right.
That word just comes to me. It's paramount to know that our creativity is so wrapped up in our faith.
Yes.
And that we pursue the Lord with that creativity. And it's not just for artists, it's
Right.
for everyone.
Right.
And whatever that creativity looks like for you, maybe it's, I said something the other day, it's like, that creativity can come, that inspiration can come, even when you're mowing the yard or doing the
Sure.
laundry. It's about learning to see
Right.
and learning to hear.
Right.
And how much did Jesus say? Do you not have ears to hear?
Right.
Or do you not have eyes to
Right.
see?
Can you not connect the dots?
Yes.
Right.
And it's like he took literal bread that they used for their substance, and he broke it and he gave it to them.
Right.
And it was a creative act.
Right.
Everything that he did.
Right.
Everything
The
that he
parables,
did.
everything. Right.
Yeah, the mud that he picked up and spit in it and put
Right.
it on the man's eyes.
Right.
It was a creative act.
It's because that
You know.
creativity. Oh, this is a whole nother show. We need to write this down. But it's like the creativity gives the word the sticking power.
Yeah.
It is the thing that once the nature of God, the revelation of the kingdom, is packaged in a way. I mean, the incarnation, period,
Exactly.
is that.
Yeah.
Is that God for generations was like, speaking, wanting to speak to
Go to
man,
come.
and yet them not getting it.
Yeah.
Not getting it through the law, not getting it through, not getting it. And say, you know what? I'm going to do it in a way that they'll get it.
Yeah.
I'm going to incarnate myself. I'm going to make myself into a form, into an expression that they will be able to understand and interact with. And that is the same quality and nature of what we are given to do today as artists. We get to participate in the divine nature through his precious promises. And it's, again, when we connect the dots, when we see the things that are going on in heaven and execute those through the skills and the talents and the beliefs and all the package that God's given us here, power gets released. And the cool thing is when you take that word, replacing, art with faith, if you take that on a little journey and you start saying, okay, well, let's look at some other places in the Word where it says that, without faith it's impossible to please God. without creativity, it's impossible. That is, without this idea
See, I believe
of
that.
Yeah, it
That's
is
true.
without this thinking outside the box, without connecting the dots, without seeing things in the spirit and bringing them into reality, into the earth realm, it's impossible to please God.
Exactly, because what did Jesus teach us? What did he hate? He hated that Pharisaical religious spirit, that do everything within the box and don't think outside that box. But creativity pushes that box, it crushes it, and it really brings the heart of God, just as Jesus did in everything that he did. I believe that when he spoke, it was like rhythm. It was like a symphony, you know. When he moved, it was like a dance. I just see Jesus that way, and I want the whole world to see Jesus that way.
Well, the beautiful thing is, if I could just share one more, then you take, what about mustard seed? With a mustard seed of faith, you can say to this mountain, move, and it'd be cast into the sea. Well, what if it was your creativity? What if it was the mustard seed of your creative expression that was the thing that when somebody interacted with it, when somebody saw your painting, heard your song, felt your basket, wore your clothing that you made, if it was the very thing that released the power of God and moved the mountain in their life. See, that's going beyond just, I can do the skill. That's connecting the dots with the power of God in the arts and seeing transformation. And my friends, that is how culture is shifted. That's how signs and wonders begin to follow those that believe, because it's like, wow, these are not just people that are preaching good ideas, that are talking about the power, the form, but denying the power. This is the reality, and this is why I believe with all my heart that artists, creative people are we're on the front lines of revival of what God wants to do in culture, because we're the ones that get this, and we as forerunners can take this message, this demonstration of power and creativity, and begin to release it in the earth. And so we just want to release that in you right now, wherever you are. Father, in the name of Jesus, we just release right now, God, the ability for your creative ones, God, to see and to hear and to know and to execute with power, God, the things that you show us in the Spirit. That, God, we would no longer stay in this just heady place of being able to just see these things and not know what to do with them. But, God, that we would be able to connect the dots, that we'd press into the place of skill, we'd press into the place, God, of where we need to come up a level in order to see your demonstration of power in the earth. And we thank you for that, God. We thank you for the privilege of that. In Jesus' name. Wow.
Yeah.
Woo! That was good. We should have just started with that today.
I just kept thinking when you were talking about that, replacing the word faith with creativity.
Yeah.
And that will step on so many toes. But it's true. And just think of it as a fullness, more of a fullness in that word with faith. Your faith shall make you whole.
Yeah.
And I have such a heart for healing and art that it's like your faith shall make you whole. And what you were saying, the mustard seed of faith can move the mountain. The mustard seed of creativity can move the mountain. And, I see this all the time in my workshops. Like, I will have people go through a healing process where they're actually not just hearing about healing or hearing what they need to do, but they may write down a place of wounding on a piece of paper and then embed that into some paint and paint over that so that they're actually doing an activation where they are putting their faith in action. Like if someone's being healed, it's like, well, put your faith in action. Walk. If you couldn't walk. If you couldn't jump. And so it's like this demonstration of power. And it's in the simplest things like that. So as you go about your creative process, just if it's you're writing a song and you hear a lyric in your mind that doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in your spirit, go for it, because it's in that release, even if it's just in your own shower, it's the release of that word that's coming through your jar of clay that will bring healing, that will move mountains, that will bring you closer to the heart of God. And so even in a painting, if it's a simple brushstroke, that brushstroke matters. If it's pulling down bark out of the trees, it's it is important. Every piece of the creative process is important.
Well, hey, this has been an awesome day. We're going to continue the conversation next week. Go to facebook.com/The Worship Studio Inc. or join our Facebook group and share with us your thoughts about today's program, all the great things that God's doing with you. And we'll see you back next week talking about the creative process here on In the Studio.